Welcome back to Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. Adrian Clarke, Mark O'Haire, back as ever, gents. Good to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice. And we've got a big weekend coming up, guys. And Sunday is where we'll kick things off. Before we do that, your final call to help us out, maybe voting us as Best Betting Podcast and Smart Betting Club Awards for 2022. You can check out the pinned tweet at Team Matchbook on Twitter, or also the podcast bio and the YouTube bio as well. That closes at 5 p.m. on Friday. So if you're listening to us on Saturday and you do want to vote for us, sorry, we missed the chance, but we do appreciate those who have voted already for us, and hopefully we'll get it over the line for 4 in a row. Because you know what, guys, it's not all about trophies, winning trophies, but really it is kind of sometimes as well. When you win 3 in a row, you want to win 4. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's kick it off. City and Liverpool. There's no better place to start on Sunday from the Etihad. The current betting at matchbook.com for this tight tussle at the top, this marquee fixture of the season. 2.08. You can back City. Liverpool at 3.7. The draw available at 3.9. Liverpool getting a half a goal start at 1.9. And 2 3/4 is the goal line. 1.88 shaded towards the over. Mark O'Haire. The market is kind of telling us one thing here. I mean, it's very rare that you're going to get City at odds against at home, but there's a good reason for that with this Liverpool team. 31 points from 33 this year already. They've been terrific form in 2022.
They have, yeah. It's a fascinating match, and understandably so. Everyone's sort of talking up as a potential title decider. These two teams have been so far ahead of the pack over the past few seasons, so it's kind of natural, really, that the big matches between them could effectively decide these titles. But there's only 1 point between them now, and Liverpool have worked so hard to close that gap. It was 10, 12 points around January time. Very exciting, really looking forward to it. But I just think we sometimes can get drawn into the hype of these matches and overlook a few fundamentals. Excuse me. Well, I do expect both teams to take a proactive approach. Of course I do. And neither of them are sort of accustomed to defensive football. But I also think both teams will know the significance of this fixture, not just winning it, but also losing it. And maybe it's my pragmatism speaking here, but I do always want, excuse me, I do always wonder about the fear factor as well. There will be an awareness from both sides that a defeat here would have sort of catastrophic consequences for their own title challenges. And also we've got 2 absolutely quality teams, the best 2 teams on the planet. So there's a potential that they could cancel each other out. Of course there is. So I'm not suggesting it's going to be a bore draw, 0-0, far from it. I expect both teams to go for it, but are they really going to be gung-ho? Are they going to risk everything for the positive result? Even Liverpool? I don't think so. Liverpool still got to play Man United, Everton and Spurs as well. So, they're sort of, just assuming that they'd win at the Etihad suddenly hands them the title. Far from it, really. I would be very surprised if both of these 2 teams finish the season with 7 wins from 7. Even though they are that good, they could easily do that. So I thought the draw was a live runner. It's been clipped in very so slightly from 3.95 to 3.9. It's landed in 4 of the last 8 renewals between these 2 teams. Liverpool have drawn all 4 against the top 4 so far this season. And effectively, you're asking almost 3-1, really, on not having a winner in this match. And when you consider the significance and the magnitude of the match and how close these 2 teams are rated, I could buy into that price for sure. But also, I think it's probably, I don't want to verge too much into Adrian's side of things, but City are too short for me, ever so slightly. They were evens to win this game last year. There was no fans, so you have to bear that in mind. But there was no Van Dijk for Liverpool. Liverpool are far stronger than they were going into this match last season. They're at full strength as well. They've signed better players. They've got legitimate claims now to have one of the best squads in the world. And I think if these 2 teams were treated as equal and added in that sort of home advantage factor, City would be closer to 225, 230. Now, the underlying data so far this season says City are the strongest suit. But even still, if we give them that edge, that they are slightly better, there's still a decent difference there between what was 205 on Wednesday, which is now 208, and 225 to what the market would say is equal. And what's fascinating about that is, since 2018-19, when Liverpool really emerged as potential sort of title challengers alongside Man City, the total points tallies that these 2 teams have earned in that time, Liverpool have earned 337 Premier League points. Man City have earned 338 Premier League points. There's 1 point between them since 2018-19. So in terms of raw results, which is what it all comes down to, there's nothing between these 2 teams. So again, that sort of buys into the argument that the draw is a big runner here. But also, I think there is a slight discrepancy in the market odds there. And I think Liverpool should be slightly shorter and City slightly bigger. I think you have to treat this as an each of 2 game, and it's not at the moment.
Yeah, it's a great medium to long-term stat, those ones, Mark. Adrian, Mark touched on last season's game at the Etihad, but I want to kind of even go maybe a bit more in recent times, that 2-2 draw at Anfield early in the season. Liverpool are a hell of a lot better now. They're better stacked. Like, obviously, look, Diaz comes in, but, Van Dijk was only coming back from an injury there, and they just look a lot more of a solid team. You kind of fancy them to get at least a point on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I think the draw is possibly the most likely result. So I think that's a really good price. But obviously, if I had to lean on one side, it would actually be towards Liverpool. I think you used the word solid there. I mean, they've won each of their last 10 Premier League matches, but they've kept 8 clean sheets during that run. They look very good out of possession. 1 or 2 scares actually last weekend against Watford. Alisson bailed them out, but by and large they're very good, and they almost always score. I think they've only failed to score once this season. That was in the away game at Leicester, which was a sort of strange defeat on their part. So I think that Liverpool couldn't come into this much better. It doesn't really matter who starts either, because they've got 2 stellar forwards that they can bring off the bench to change things up in the second half, and I think that could be a real asset to them in the game. The one negative I'd say about Liverpool is their performance levels at the Etihad. I mean, I know they won there in the Champions League, but I think the first time Klopp took Liverpool there, they won 4-1. It was sensational. Since then, I had a look at it. They've only scored 3 goals at the Etihad, and 2 have been penalties. So it's not a great ground for them, and then whether that matters or not, who knows? But they haven't put on that many shows there in recent years. So yeah, and on City, obviously a brilliant team. Foden's got a great record, hasn't he, against Liverpool? I think he scored in the last 3 against them.
He surely starts, Adrian, right?
He has to start, yeah. Where I don't know. He'll probably start as the false 9. He tends to in these big games. He's got a great record. It worries me a little bit that Diaz is still absent. You think about City's fragility, and it is those transitions, early passes in behind, a little bit like Spurs caught them out for one of the goals, and other teams have done similar. On the counter is where City can be really got at, and Liverpool obviously have
and we saw that in the 2-2
speed.
Draw too. Like, I mean, Mane up against Diaz, he tore him a new one for that goal.
He did, and I think that they've got the tools. I think Liverpool are the sort of side that will always cause City problems. I was looking at City; they've only dropped points against 3 teams this season, or 4 teams, including Liverpool. The other 3 are Spurs, Palace, and Southampton. Now, all of those are they're not carbon copies of Liverpool, but Spurs are a counter-attacking team. Southampton are a pressing, counter-pressing side that are good on transitions, and that's how Palace played as well in the fixtures against them. So Liverpool, I think, are stylistically suited to doing okay against Manchester City. So for me, the alternative would be to get the draw and a Liverpool win on side for 1.9. That's Liverpool plus half a goal. That's my selection, but I do think that a draw is a really good shout if you want to make a smaller play.
Yeah, look, obviously the draw is a bigger price, 3.9, as Mark said, just under 3-1 there. But I'm going to side with you, Adrian, on the half 1.9. And I'll tell you why, because I backed Liverpool at 3.8 early in the week, so that's where I do have a feeling that they could nick this.
One more stat that I should have read out. It's random, but it's interesting.
It's not like you, man. It's not like
I like a random stat.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Of the last 8 Premier League meetings between the top 2 sides to take place in the final 10 games of the season, so big deciding games effectively, 7 have been won by the team in second.
That's interesting.
So they've only lost once. The second place team have lost 1 of the last 10. There's been 2 draws and 7 victories for the team that are chasing. So if you believe in those kind of trends, maybe Liverpool is the pick.
The chaser may have the edge on the hunted. All right, Liverpool plus a half a goal at 1.9 is the bet there. So just before we get into the next couple of guys, I just want to tell folks about the new sign-up offer we have at matchbook.com. This is for this week only. Not only, but actually it's for this week that we actually brought it in. It was £20 money back, but it's now up to £30, and use the bonus code INSIGHTS30 when signing up to avail of this. So money back is a free bet If your first bet loses, up to £30 or €30 or $30, whatever else. Insights.matchbook.com. You can find the full terms and conditions of that offer. Insights 30 is the bonus code. All right, we move on to Saturday evening's kickoff in Birmingham. Aston Villa against Tottenham. Current betting as we have it at matchbook.com. 3.35. You can back Villa. Tottenham at 2.3. The draw available at 3.6. Villa getting a quarter of a goal start on the Asian handicap line at 1.94. 2.5 is the total. Adrian Clarke, teams trending different directions here. Spurs 5 wins in the last 6, and Villa really kind of slip you up into the bottom half. Well, they lost their last 3 as well. So, are you kind of going to go with the form lines in this one, or what were you?
I definitely lean towards Spurs. I think the Spurs are playing very well, aren't they? You can't argue against that. They're flying, scoring so many goals, aren't they, at the moment? I mean, under Antonio Conte, 43 goals in 20 Premier League matches. I mean, that is, over 2 goals a game is outstanding. So the front guys are great. Kane, Son and 𝗕𝗲𝘁𝗁𝘀. You look around the division, second best behind Liverpool's at the moment in terms of the threat that they carry. I think they probably are. So yeah, I think that Villa will need to buck their ideas up. And if they don't, if they play like they have done of late, they'll get beaten here for sure. But they're a strange team, Villa, aren't they? Watkins, dangerous player. Coutinho, if he's hot, if he's on it, he can hurt you. And I do like Gerrard as a manager. I think there's a lot of potential there. So I wouldn't go all in on Spurs, but I would make them favourites. Absolutely, they should win on current form. I'm leaning towards goals because of Spurs absolutely flying. Villa have a really bad record as well, by the way, against the current top 6. They've lost all the games and they've averaged 2.3 goals against in all the matches against the top 6. Doesn't bode well for Aston Villa. So again, the Spurs angle strong. But yeah, so that they struggle to keep the best sides at bay. Looking at it over the course of the season, both teams have seen matches that have over 2.5 goals 60% of the time, which is definitely among the higher echelons of the division. Villa scored in 12 of 14 at home. Spurs only 5 clean sheets from 15 on the road. So you can't rely on Spurs to have the shutouts on the road. So yeah, look, I think both teams will score, and is an angle. I think it's pretty skinny though. So over 2.5 was where I was headed here. I think that's based on the stats and Spurs form and Villa's record against the best teams. I think that's a strong play here. I think it's seen at 1.88 for over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, it is indeed 1.88. Mark, I tried to get Adrian there with Tottenham. I think I could maybe get you there. He kind of wanted to go there, but just the goals angle was a bit better. I really like Tottenham in this one, and I'm glad to see that you kind of do as well.
I do, yeah. I think there's a really nice angle and a way into this, and that's down the handicap route, which is back in Spurs -1/4, which is now 1.98, effectively even money. It just means if the game does end in a draw, we only lose half of our stake. If they win, we get paid out at effectively evens, which is quite appealing, really. They were pretty good last week against Newcastle, weren't they? 2.8 expected goals from open play, 13 shots in the box, conceded just 1 shot on target. Conte did say before the international break, after they demolished Everton, that this team was starting to make breakthroughs, and he seemed quite happy with the progress they were making. And it seems that way because since he's arrived, only Liverpool and City have earned more Premier League points, and there's a popular graphic going around on Sky Sports, I think it was, about Spurs being the top Premier League goal scorers this calendar year as well. So they're getting the best out of Harry Kane now. I think on average he's having more touches per game than under Pochettino. He's completing more passes in the final third. He is still that curator and assister as well as a goal scorer, and he's shooting more than almost every other striker as well. Adrian touched on the threat of 𝗕𝗲𝘁𝗁𝘀𝘁 and Son as well, but also I think there's been a transition as well defensively with Christian Romero and Eric Dyer really providing a platform to work for him. I was a touch sceptical on Romero when he joined because he is very, very rash, and he does kind of let things boil over a little bit too much, but he's kept it bottled pretty well so far, and he's kind of thriving in that old school kind of traditional leader role. the galvanizing guy at the back, and then you've got Bentancur sort of dominating midfield, and he'll absolutely love the opportunity to kind of thwart Coutinho in this match. And that's been Villa's problem, really. When Coutinho has been thwarted or he's been given less space, Villa have struggled. And that's my worry about Villa at the minute, is Steven Gerrard's trying to build a team around him. He's only a lone player, and when they do kind of get him swallowed up, there's not a huge amount to do elsewhere. And last week they played John McGinn in a holding midfield role, which didn't really work either. And they produced pretty tepid efforts now in defeats against Wolves, Arsenal and West Ham. Are they on the beach? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't think Gerrard would allow his team to be that way, but they are mid-table obscurity. They're going nowhere. And I think Tottenham with a week's rest, I think Conte teams, when they do have that break, are always at the most dangerous. So, yeah, Villa Park hasn't been a fortress this season. They've won 5 games from 14, all against teams in 10th and below. There's a 12-point gap, actually, between 8th and 9th. So you could even say the bottom half begins at 9th. Villa's returning against the top half, home or away, 1 win, 1 draw, 11 defeats, 1 point from 18 at home. They've conceded twice more and 5 of 6 at home to the top 8 as well. So, yeah, I did consider both teams scoring. But in the end, I thought the bigger price of Spurs -1/4. But weirdly as well, these two teams have played 30 Premier League games. They've only drawn 3 each of them, so 6 draws between them. So maybe I just back Spurs on the nose at 2.3, but I am going to take that security of the -1/4 start.
Yeah, the quarter start, you're actually getting 1.98, Mark. We checked it there just before recording, and we saw in the ticker there it's 1.98, so you're almost getting even money. And like you said, if it's a draw, you get half your stake back, so not a bad selection there. All right, AC, I'm going to go with Spurs. I like Spurs in this one. Don't dislike your goals angle either, of course. You know what? A 3-0 Spurs win, we're all happy, AC. Good for that. All right, let's move to Saturday's 3 p.m. fixtures. This is Mark's game of choice. It is Watford against Leeds. 2.78. You can back the Hornets there. Leeds slight favourites, 2.68. The draw available at 3.65. The main Asian handicap line is 0.0, and that's draw no bet essentially. And obviously, of course, if Leeds are favoured in the 1x2, they're favoured in this one as well, 1.92, and you can back Watford at 2.0. 2 3/4 is the goal line, and it's slightly shaded towards the under there, but 2.5 is quite readily available at a good line as well. And Mark, to that point, if you were to just base this primarily in just trends and what both teams are scoring and what both teams are conceding, then this just screams goals, doesn't it? Yeah, it can't not. I was surprised to see this goal line. I was surprised that it wasn't a flat 3.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised as well. I think it's been slightly undervalued. Obviously, it's a massive game, and I think that kind of gets bought into the prices too.
Hodgson as well. I mean, Hodgson is... He's not gung-ho, is he? Let's be honest.
No, he's not, but exactly. They're leaking goals. They are leaking goals as well.
Yeah. There is plenty of kind of warning signs if you were going to get involved in goals. Yeah. And look, I put this game out because it's a fascinating match at the bottom end of the table, rather than I've got an outstanding sort of betting angle way in. But I do think goals would be the bet that I would want to take in this match. Leeds know that if they win, they should, in theory, seal survival. Watford know if they lose, they're pretty much going down. So they have to start sort of turning this around, and they have to start seeing Watford not just scoring, but actually winning matches. And they've lost 8 on the spin at Vicarage Road. They've lost 11 of 14 at home overall. It's a desperate record, convincingly beaten at home by Norwich and Ranieri's last game. But actually, they've only played... that was only 1 of 2 matches against the bottom 7, their fellow scrappers. The other was a 1-1 draw against Newcastle. So this is a huge game for Watford, because if they can turn up and get a result here, they've still got matches against Everton and Burnley at Vicarage Road to come. So there's a lot on the line here, and I think they will have to sort of start taking a bit more of a proactive approach. They showed it at Liverpool last week. They had opportunities, really should have scored. And then, you've got Leeds, who are still inconsistent, still unpredictable, but still capable of competing against the teams outside of the elite. And it's 5 defeats and 20 against teams outside of the top 7. Away from Ellen Road, not quite so impressive. 2 wins, 4 draws, 3 defeats. It's not great. It's not horrendous. One of those wins was against Wolves, which, as we know, was a massive game of 2 halves, dependent on a red card. But the goal expectancy is reasonably high. I expected it to be higher, but 9 of 20 of those Leeds matches against teams in 8th and below went over 2.5, so not the sort of overwhelming kind of figure I expected. And only 5 of those featured 4 or more goals. But actually, I looked at the expected goals averages across those 20 games, and it comes in at 2.91, which is quite high. The goal expectancy here is 2.8 as well. So maybe that's just because the lesser teams, lesser finishers in the team, and unable to sort of finish those opportunities. But I mean, normally we presume Hodgson and Watford would be pragmatic, but I just think now in the 10 games under his charge, they've had a varied sort of run of fixtures: United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Burnley, Brighton, so at different ends of the table. The average XG in those games of 2.7, which is high, and they're coming up against a Leeds team without a clean sheet in 17. As I said, they showed plenty at Anfield. I thought I expect them to score here. I did expect BTTS would be my sort of banker here, but it's a bit too short to support. So over 2.5 goals, really, I thought was fair enough at 1.8. If you expect both teams to score, then why not boost it up? Both teams should take a front foot approach. These are favourites here. I can only assume that's because Phillips and Cooper are back, and they are big play pluses. And that Watford home form is obviously pretty dire. But I make this more of an each of 2 game again, rather than sort of giving either time favourites. So I thought goals was the solution here, considering what's at stake.
Yeah, Adrian, Mark touched on it there. Watford lost their last 8 games at Vicarage Road. But I think obviously, look, as bettors, you need to kind of sometimes just park some of those things and then look at the game just in terms of matchups. And let's be honest about it, Leeds, when they have come to London, when they have travelled any bit of this, they haven't been pulling up trees either. So you kind of see there's a bit of an edge with Watford in the draw no bet market.
I worked on the game at Anfield, so I watched that closely. I've seen Leeds a fair bit lately as well, yeah. And I saw enough in Watford at Anfield that they've got the heart, that they're still fighting, and they've got that threat. And I think that if you looked at this match on stats alone, you can't even consider Watford as an option. But these losing streaks don't last forever. Losing 8 in a row, it has to end soon. And their away record is terrific. You know, they're mid-table. If every match was played away from home, they wouldn't be anywhere near the relegation zone. So they're not what I'd call a car crash side. I think they've had certain issues at Vicarage Road, and I don't think that will last forever. I just look at this from a sort of tactical point of view and think about Leeds and their sort of the way that they play. Jesse Marsh is tweaking things, but some of the habits that they had under Bielsa won't just disappear. Some of the bad habits won't just disappear, and they do leave a lot of space in behind. They do give up a lot of chances. Leeds United, they even did last weekend against Southampton in that draw. And the Watford strikers, you know, 𝗲 coming off the right, 𝗕𝗁𝗁 from the left, potentially 𝗲𝗏 Pedro, Emmanuel Dennis, Josh King. They've got options there, and a lot of the guys are quick, powerful, athletic. And I can see them getting in behind this Leeds rearguard, you know, on numerous occasions. They also defended pretty well at Anfield. The left back was fantastic. Kamara, I think he's been really, really consistent since he joined. He'll be, of course, up against Leeds, probably their best player, Raphinha. He had Salah in his back pocket, and you know, I'd back him to contain Raphinha as well. So yeah, I just see a lot of flaws still in Leeds, who are missing front men as well. So yeah, I think I just don't see Watford losing this game. There's so much more incentive with Burnley as well, bringing Everton back into that relegation pack. I think there's a lot at stake here for Watford, and I think they can do it. I think they can win the game, but you know, on the draw no bet market, it's still even money. So that was quite attractive to me.
Yeah, there isn't a major difference. You go back up to 2.8 or whatever they were for the matches, and it just gives you a bit of cover there. So that's your selection there, AC. I'm going to slightly side with Mark here as the official selection over 2.5 at 1.8, which is 4 to 5 and all money. But don't worry, AC, because I've looked ahead and I've seen your selection for next game and I like it. So we're going to even the score. Don't worry. 2-1 to Mark at the moment.
We're not keeping count, mate. It's fine.
No, absolutely not.
You know, you're the referee. We'll just go with you. You know, we're backing 100%.
You. And you can give me lots of shit when
exactly.
Watford doing the game.
When it all goes pear-shaped.
Watford doing 1-0 or 2-0, and I'm under pressure then. All right, we'll move on, as I mentioned, to Adrian's beloved Gunners. They're at home to Brighton. I'll start with you, AC, for this one. But let's take a look at the betting as we have it. 1.68 Arsenal. And I would suggest that if they had beaten Palace, the last night, this would be a hell of a lot shorter. That's just my sense. 6.2, you can back Brighton. The draw available at 4.1. It's a full 1 goal handicap on the main line. So obviously, even if Brighton lose by 1, you get your money back, and you can back that at 1.76. So you can see, looking at a low scoring game, that's going to be a pretty well fancy 1.76, and 2.5 is the total, and it's shaded towards the under. Adrian, just very quickly touch on Monday nights. I know you covered it extensively, obviously, with on your own social channels, but it wasn't really expected, really, was it? But look, every now and again you're going to get that after an international break, whatever it is, with a young team. But they should bounce back here, right?
I didn't see it coming. I mean, regular viewers will know that I tipped up Arsenal for that game because of the form, and their form had been so good, so calm, but they were blown away by Palace's aggression in that first half. They lost every single individual battle and got what they deserved. Really, it was a really bad night at the office. Second half was better, but Palace, they retreated. They let Arsenal have the ball, really. I'm not worried about the character of this Arsenal team. I think the young players are made of sterner stuff than some of the guys that we've seen in recent seasons. So they're more than capable of bouncing back. I don't think there'll be a hangover particularly, but it's the injuries. Tierney out for the season. Thomas Partey will miss this game. And these are two big holes to fill. I mean, Partey didn't have a good game.
Tavares didn't cover himself with glory there either.
What do they do? I mean, he's had the hook at 34 minutes and 45 minutes in the last two games that he started. So can he be trusted? What will they do? I mean, you could flip Cedric over to the other side. You could bring Saka to left back. I don't think you can use Granit Xhaka at left back when you've got no Thomas Partey in the engine room. So it's a problem. It really is. And the balance of the team, it's been a very settled 11. It's all of a sudden unsettled. And that is not good news for Arsenal and their quest for the top four finish. Brighton are a bit of a bogey team as well. We know all about their form. It's not great, but they don't give you much, do they? I was looking at their away form, actually, Brighton, over the course of the season. They've lost 3 of 14. There's a lot of draws in there, a lot of draws. And they only concede around about a goal a game away from home. So they're happy travelling, keeping things tight, often concede 1, but that's it. And that means that this will be a tight game, in my opinion, when you factor in Arsenal's sort of uncertainty. Maybe the balance of the team is impacted. They've only scored 1 in their last 3 matches as well. Had 2 blanks, Arsenal. It was 0-0 at Brighton earlier on in the season. And this fixture, since Brighton came back into the Premier League, or actually they didn't play in the Premier League before, did they? So since they came into the Premier League, 9 meetings, 6 have been under 2.5 goals. And the ones that weren't were 3 goals, so they weren't exactly high-scoring games either. Over the course of this season, only 7, this is amazing, really, only 7 of 30 Brighton games have gone over 2 goals. And for Arsenal, good team, pushing for top 4, actually less than half of their matches have gone over 2.5 goals. So they're not the sort of side that have been involved in that many 3-2ers, shall we say, this season. So no, I think this is going to be really nervy and tight, and I don't think I'm going to enjoy it at all. I'll be there, and I think that Brighton can be competitive. So Brighton with a +1 handicap is of interest, but I think under 2.5 goals at 1.84 is where I'm heading here. It's they're one of those teams, Brighton, that can make life difficult for anybody.
Yeah, I think Gunner fans may just have to be patient on Saturday afternoon. It may take a while to get there, but it should get there.
Graham Potter he's got a pretty good record, I have to say, against Arsenal. He's won at Emirates Stadium before. So, you can't back them because, I think they've scored 1 in their last 7 games, Brighton. But when you've only lost 3 away games all season, that has to be respected.
Yeah, they might have a good record, but they haven't scored in their last 3 against the Gunners. Mark, what are you thinking with this one? If you were to pick a side, are you leaning with Arsenal this one, yeah?
I am, yeah. I think you made a good point at the start there, sort of talking about the Palace match. If they'd beaten Palace, they'd be a lot shorter than 168. But I mean, I'm not willing to abandon them just yet. When I did my notes on Wednesday, I had a question mark over Thomas Partey, and his availability was quite key, really. So Adrian seems quite confident he's going to be missing, which is obviously a big blow. The top 4 battle is really intense now, isn't it? Remember, Arsenal still have to go to Spurs. Their game in hand is against Chelsea as well. So these kind of matches are absolutely pivotal if they're going to be finishing in the top 4. But yeah, I'd expect a bit of a bounce back from them. I appreciate I'm probably repeating myself here, but Arsenal traditionally very good against teams outside of the elite. Overall this season, 17 wins from 24, excluding the top 3, 10 wins from 12 at Emirates. When you look at the same standard, 13 wins from 17 against teams in 10th and below. Pretty consistent. And then odds-wise, I've talked about this before, but going back to 2017, Arsenal's record at odds-on favourites at Emirates, 44 wins, 9 draws, 4 defeats. It's a 77% win rate, and they've been a lot worse a team than they are these days, going into most of those matches too. So, Partey's absence would be a big blow and probably make me rethink this a little bit. But I thought Arsenal under 4.5, just boosting that Arsenal price up a little bit more, was reasonable enough. Brighton, yeah, they're tricky, they're competitive, they're awkward. They've only won 3 Premier League games since mid-September, 3 in 25, and they came against Brentford, Everton and Watford. Just 6 clean sheets in that sequence. They've only won once against teams above them. Obviously capable of keeping games tight and draw specialists, but they're averaging 0.87 goals per game across the whole season, and their 1 goal in 7 was a set piece. So, look at Norwich last week. They absolutely dominated the goal, could have played for hours and hours and still wouldn't have scored, ballooned the penalty over as well. So that is a worry. And if you look at the season, only 2 of their matches have featured 5 or more goals, and only 5 Arsenal matches have featured 5 or more goals. So yeah, I would expect a low scoring one, but we just gave Arsenal the edge. But Partey being absent does kind of make you rethink things a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Adrian, I'm going to say with you here, under 2.5 at 1.84. Obviously, I just struggle to see where Brighton get the goals in this one as well. And all right, very quick recap of those before we move on to EFL and European selections. Liverpool plus a half a goal on Sunday against 1.9. That's obviously keeping the draw on side as well. We're taking Spurs minus a quarter at 1.98 away at Villa, over 2.5 at Vicarage Road, Watford, Leeds, and under 2.5 at 1.84 Arsenal, Brighton. Adrian, the Championship goals bet, Bristol City against Peterborough over 2.5 for you.
Yeah. This is Peterborough need to win. It's getting to that sort of time now. I think they're probably down, but they will need to attack the match. Bristol City leaky at the back, but often score goals. Excuse me, they're the top 2 actually when it comes to over 2.5 goals in a game this season. Bristol City 65% of the time, Peterborough 62%. Clean sheets don't happen very often. They can both boast 4 clean sheets out of 40 this season, which is shocking, really, isn't it? I think Nigel Pearson is on a bit of a sticky wicket. He needs to finish this season strongly, otherwise he might lose that gig down at Ashton Gate. They've scored Bristol City in 31 of 40 matches, 17 of 20 at home, so they're always worth a goal. Posh aren't the best at the back. But they do have a goal threat, and Grant McCann has sort of made them quite attack minded. Peterborough away games average over 3 goals as well. So yeah, over 2.5 goals I think was my play here. 1.75. I think we're likely to see a decent game.
Yeah, and another goals better League One, Lincoln even against Wigan, not Lincoln. Lincoln against Wigan, both teams score 1.94.
Yeah, they've both got a hit rate on BTTS of 59%, which is pretty healthy. 4 clean sheets from 41 for Lincoln, so they're even worse than Bristol City and Peterborough, which amazes me really, because they were so good last season under Appleton, but they've just leaked goals for fun. Wigan almost always score, especially away from home. 16 of 18 away games, they've found the back of the net. Lincoln are a strange team. They're having a bad season compared to what they should have done, but they raised their game against the better teams, and they've scored in 6 of 7 against the top 8, the current top 8 at home at Sincilbank. It's a good atmosphere there. Often get 10,000 in, and in those big games, the team tend to perform a little bit better. So I think it'll be a really good game. I do. I think that Wigan are wonderful away from home. They got the best record in League One. They'll probably win the game, but Lincoln can make it competitive, and I think that they'll score too. So yeah, BTTS 1.94. I thought it was quite a good price actually, given the high percentages, 59% strike rate for both this season.
All right, Mark, we move to Sunday for you for League On. It's your first European selection. Strasbourg plus 0.0 to draw, no bet at 1.85 against Lyon. Strasbourg going well. And obviously, look, if you look at the table, and obviously we're recording on Thursday morning, Lyon have that big tie against West Ham. Is that a bit of an angle here that, Lyon are probably putting their eggs in the European basket more than a League One?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big reason for it, but also this is a great example of where the market is effectively giving a bit too much value to a team name rather than what the performances have been on the field. So, Strasbourg are in 4th, Lyon are in 9th. There is only 6 points between the two teams, but Strasbourg have been the strongest suit so far this season. Yet the market is rating Lyon as much a stronger team, really. And I just can't really agree with that. I think they're far from trustworthy. They've been so inconsistent. They have been wonderful at times under Peter Bosz, but hugely inconsistent and often flattered to deceive, especially away from home. Defensively, they've been absolutely atrocious for most of the campaign as well. So I just couldn't be backing them here because you mentioned the Europa League tie against West Ham. It's a massive match for Lyon. Qualification via the league to the Champions League is looking well beyond them now. So the Europa League now becomes of extra importance, and that means there might be some rotation here. There might be some prioritisation of next week's return leg. Either way, they're both the worst defence in the top half. They've only won 4 of 14 away days all season, and they've returned 1 win, 2 draws and 4 defeats when travelling to the top half. Clearly, player for player, have arguably the better squad, but I've kind of given up trusting Peter Bosz teams, particularly away from home. So Strasbourg are going great guns. Fantastic season, wonderful club, led by Julien Stéphan. Fantastic to watch as well, but particularly at home at the Manure. But their form, really, home and away, has been brilliant for ages. 5 defeats now in 28 Ligue 1 games, 2 defeats in their most recent 19. They've won 9 of 15 at home. They scored in 25 of 30 overall. And more recently, they've kept 9 clean sheets in 14. So from that solid base, you've also got players in forward areas who can make a real difference. So 𝗕𝗲𝗁 was a fantastic capture for a club of kind of Strasbourg's quality in Ligue 1. Proven goal scorer. You've got Wajid Maurice, who can come off the bench, Ludovic Ajorc as well. Players of real ability and also kind of differing skill sets as well. So I really like Strasbourg this season. They're going really well. And I just think there's a slight undervaluation of their price there. So yeah, draw no bet at home to Lyon, considering Lyon might have eyes elsewhere. I think is a nice angle in.
Yeah, and look, Mark, take it away for La Liga. Before I actually get the best bets, we're rattling through a lot of selections there. Obviously, I'm conscious if you're listening on the podcast, you might not be able to pick these up. Check out insights.matchbook.com for a full recap of all of those selections from Thursday afternoon onwards. And Mark, sorry, for La Liga, we discussed the Champions League. And I'll be honest, right? Villarreal against Bayern, you cautioned me. You told me at the very top, Unai Emery, European game, one-off fixtures, just do not underestimate them. Of course I did, back Bayern anyway. And but on the flip side, their form the last couple of games, I think it was Getafe and Cadiz, or was it Levante in the last couple of weeks where they've lost, but they're taking on Atletico Bilbao now, and they've got to be, their minds have got to be focusing on Bayern Munich on Tuesday night.
100%, and that's the big main reason why I'm opposing them this weekend. A club of Villarreal stature, I've known they've been in the Champions League semi-finals before in the 𝗕𝗲𝗁 era, but beating Bayern Munich and giving themselves an opportunity to progress is such a huge thing for Villarreal that this match against Athletic is kind of sandwiched in between those two ties. Not just that, it's a really quick turnaround by Spanish standards as well. Wednesday night to Saturday afternoon. They're not accustomed to that quick turnaround normally. They're usually given a bit more of a breather. Obviously, going to Munich then on Tuesday, their eyes are going to be on that game. There's no doubt about it. And secondly, Athletic are just not the kind of team you want to play when you're slightly distracted, a little bit jaded, a bit weary, possibly on a bit of a high after such a big achievement. Clearly, Emery will rest and rotate his team, and there'll be players who come in fresh. But it's a stereotype, but it's true. Athletic still are awkward. They're physical, and they're just not an easy team to beat or bully, really. And I think if I looked at this game on a standard, normal Saturday, it's not a game I'd be involved with. But you have to try and find an edge, whatever way you can in betting. And Villarreal won't be 100%. We can be sure of that pretty much. And as I've said, Emery has had a tendency to kind of switch focus to certain competition if there's an opportunity of a trophy or a bigger prize at stake. And we've seen that with with Arsenal, with Villarreal last season, and in previous gigs too. So they're 12 points off the top 4. They won't be finishing there this season. They've only won 3 games against the top half this season, and recent performances, particularly against Levante, where they actually played a best 11. I think that's just because they come off the international break. They were atrocious last weekend. So, yeah, they've raised themselves midweek. Can they do it again in a game they don't really need to win? Probably not. Athletic have lost just 5 of 26 league games when you exclude Barcelona and Real Madrid. Their away record doesn't look great, but they've only actually lost 4 of 15 away, 2 of which were Barca and Real. And they've only conceded, I think, multiple goals twice when playing away. 7 clean sheets and 15 away, the second best away defence. Marcelino is just a really canny, excellent coach, capable of setting his teams up to disrupt and destroy. And I think they'll really relish this opportunity to get something out of this match. So the markets are unfortunately already moving in Athletic's favour, probably for the fact that Villarreal are so invested in the Champions League now. But I think if you can get plus 1.7 at plus 0.5 or better, then take it, because I don't think it will hang around too long.
Yeah, it's currently 1.79 matchbook.com on Thursday morning. Like you said, that may not last. Adrian, we already covered your best bet. You want to very quickly give another recap on it? Under 2.5 Arsenal Brighton.
Yeah, I looked around the EFL. It's a bit of a trappy card this weekend.
Yeah.
I struggled to find that much value. So I've gone with Arsenal against Brighton. That's my strongest pick from today's podcast. I just think with Brighton's record of being involved in really tight games, I mean, 7 of 30 have gone over 2 goals this season. I think they're more than capable of going to a nervy Emirates Stadium against an Arsenal 11 that will be unbalanced by the absence of 𝗕𝗲𝘁𝗁 and Thomas Partey. And I think that this will be a close run thing. I agreed with Mark's shout on Arsenal and under 4.5. I think that's probably a good play as well, because 1-0, 2-0 is probably the most likely scoreline if Arsenal were to win the game, but it could easily be 0-0 or 1-1. And I just think that that this is an unders game at Emirates Stadium. So yeah, that's my best bet for this week.
All right. We don't have the enhanced double up on matchbook.com quite yet. I'm suggesting it's going to be about 3.1, 3.2. Check out podcast specials at matchbook.com. And as we say each and every week, if you see that price better elsewhere, that double price better elsewhere, please let us know at Team Matchbook or at Sully Matchbook on Twitter, and we will boost it up further. Can't say fairer than that. My thanks to Adrian. My thanks to Mark. Best of luck this weekend, guys. Cracker, obviously, on Sunday. We'll be back again next week. But in the meantime, best of luck with your bets, and we'll chat to you then. Bye for now.